here is Joe Biden. And Joe Biden had announced on Wednesday, or I should say it was reported that on Wednesday morning, he had spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu and basically said, you have till end of day, our time, or maybe it was Israeli time, to work out some type of ceasefire. In other words, we want to pull the plug, which I think shows that the United States has a certain amount of influence with the Israeli government, that when the United States stands in the way of a UN resolution for a ceasefire, not necessarily because the UN has a lot of authority with the Israeli government, but if they allow it to happen, then they are putting their prestige on the line, and therefore Israel has to react. And clearly what Israel wanted to do was, we want to pound Palestinians in Gaza, take out their ability maybe for electricity. We want to put them on a diet, as they say, they've said in the past. We want to mow the lawn, as they have said in the past. And ostensibly it was to diminish Hamas's military capacity. Who knows exactly what it was? But the United States did not exert pressure until, we had hundreds of civilians killed. And but that pressure has been applied, and there was a response, though limited as it were. Here is Biden in the White House yesterday talking about the ceasefire.
I also appreciate the contributions of other parties in the region who've been engaged in working toward the end of hostilities. These hostilities have resulted in the tragic deaths of so many civilians, including children. And I send my sincere condolences to all the families, Israeli and Palestinian, who have lost loved ones, and my hope for a full recovery for the wounded. The United States committed to working with the United Nations, and we remain committed to working with the United Nations and other international stakeholders to provide rapid humanitarian assistance and to marshal international support for the people of Gaza and the Gaza reconstruction efforts. We will do this in full partnership with the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, the Authority, in a manner that does not permit Hamas to simply restock its military arsenal. I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet, relentless diplomacy toward that end. I believe we have a genuine opportunity to make progress, and I'm committed to working for it. And I want to thank you all, and may God bless you all, and pray that this continues. Thank you so much.
The end there, he's addressing, I think, the reports that the Biden administration was hoping to disengage from that. And, they're going to continue their quiet diplomacy. In other words, the reason why you haven't heard about this diplomacy or any type of pressure exerted on Israel, because we've been keeping it quiet.
Yeah. I returned to that 2001 quote from Joe Biden where he says that he believes that all differences between Israel and the United States should be worked out privately. He's extended that seemingly to his presidency and has, at least for the first 11 days, allowed Israel to murder hundreds of civilians, including over 60 children, as of what we know right now. And what bothers me about that statement, one, I'm happy that he did call on put pressure on Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire, although it seems like they're not necessarily holding up their bargain on that end, which we'll get to. But he talks as if the United States has no agency. Like as if we're watching this unfold in front of us. And right. That's what bothers me about the framing from Biden.
There's a couple that's basically, there's two things. One is that we keep our leverage exist in a completely different parallel universe to the conflict. And that leverage, of course, is the billions of dollars of aid that we send in terms of, in weapons support. That exists as if it's not part of the equation. But it is part of the equation. And then you watch these images that we're about to show of IDF forces
something like 15 hours after the ceasefire was agreed to / put in place.
You had IDF forces storming the Al-Aqsa Mosque grounds, not the mosque itself, but the sort of, I guess what Jews would call the Temple Mount. And also there were reports of more, removals and displacements of people in the Sheikh Jarrah, the neighborhood that in East Jerusalem, which was the sort of the catalyst for this. And so you have this conflict with Hamas and Israel is siloed, and just like the Palestinians who are killed by the civilian deaths are somehow distinct from the conflict with Hamas and somehow distinct from Israel essentially attacking Palestinians in their homes in East Jerusalem and firing on people at Al-Aqsa. Here is the images of that.
انتصارا لنا في غزة.
So they're firing rubber bullets. There are injuries and
tear gas. I believe flash bombs we're seeing.
Flashbangs, yes. I mean, so this is part of the problem. Is this sort of like attempting to divorce these into separate silos, and until there is a sort of a comprehensive view of what is happening to Palestinians in East Jerusalem, has impact on what happens in Gaza, has impact on what happens in the West Bank, and the United States sees that connection. We're just going to sideline our leverage. But
I'm sure they see that connection. It's just what they're going to admit publicly. And I just want to point out, this was a provocation to say that the Palestinians then violated the ceasefire when they retaliated with rockets. We don't know. They haven't done that yet, to my knowledge, at the taping of the show. But this is out of Netanyahu's playbook.
Yeah.
Provoke, provoke, provoke. Hamas, Palestinians respond. Then we'll disproportionately respond, kill 10, 15, 20 times the amount of civilians on their side, and then say they're Hamas's human shields when it's the third most densely populated area in the entire world, and there is no battlefield. It's just a populated area with Palestinians that they, as you said the other day, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. So just know that this is clearly out of their playbook. And of course, it's always on the oppressed people, the Palestinians, the people fighting for justice, to be the bigger people in this instance. I mean, the burden is just unbelievable.
And this came up in our conversation with Noor Erakat a week or two ago, and that Ariel Sharon did the exact same thing that led to the second Intifada. This is it is a playbook that has been used. It's a well-worn playbook